There was indeed an unexplored time in the facet of the cataclysm that was the Black Mesa incident. A time that is so unbeknownst to the local investigator with the power to observe what happened after the death of the Nihilanth. A question remains as to what happened to his buckling empire. When the Vortigaunt species lost their final footholds against their arch-nemesis, the Combine, the fleeing tribes and their elder councils thought of a desperate solution to avoid complete genocide within their ancient shrines and temples of light. Escaping to Zen was their one and only true proposition. The Combine were imminently close to their victory after the Dawn War ultimately collapsed the Vortal civilization. It is unclear how long the conflict has indeed lasted, though while it still continues to this day, the question remains as to what happened to the Master's meddlers, the followers of the Inviction. The remnants and warlords of the Master's realm.
You have my attention. You are fortunate that I permit you to bask in my glory for now.
When the Vortigaunts retreated within all quadrants of the border worlds of Zen, they ran yet into another enemy that at first thought this was an invasion. The Nihilanth and its armies immediately responded to a dimensional breach of creatures that were considered the same enemy that Vortal kind were running from. But it was soon clear that the Master's realm was opening former closed wounds, engaging in a small war that would end with the enslavement of the Vortigaunt species. The Grand Elder Council, Nihilanth, and its egocentric monarchs had come to a mutual agreement. To avoid Vortigaunt destruction, a price was to be paid for their trespass and hostile push into Zen, servitude to the Nihilanth as invictors, warriors, and harvesters in exchange to repopulate, to regain their strength. Over time, this menial servitude became far more brutal, tasking, and lethal. It sparked numerous rebellions throughout the Nihilanth's territory that it held in Zen that only hastened a decisive response from its slave masters. Fearing extra reprisal, the servitude became a token of undeterred slavery and captivity for Vortal kind. The effective use of exotic technology directly maintained by the Master's controllers proved that resistance was impossible. This is all a moot point of history where details have been seemingly lost, but it is clear that the Vortigaunt species lost their ability to ever threaten the Master's realm again. In this, further prices were to be made as the egocentrical kingpins of the Nihilanth began experimenting and gene-splicing Vortal kind with mixed success. In the time, these bioengineered warriors were constructed in numbers beyond counting. The invasion of Earth began. It is unclear of the timeline as per what produced this outcome, but the Black Mesa incident sparked the destruction of nearly all of these operations. Gordon Freeman freeing the Vortigaunt species after directly assassinating the Nihilanth in its own chamber. Afterward, the realm began to collapse into internal strife, banditry, isolationism, and unwinnable wars with other dimensional powers that were once too afraid to even dare challenge the Master's realm. Kingpins are the Master's judge, jury, and executioners. Each kingpin is said to have been produced with a specific purpose in mind, each of them bearing a powerful resemblance that could only be recognized in its familiar wake. It is known that should a kingpin truly lose its resemblance of power that effectively gave it a living purpose, the creature will slowly consume its own sanity, the resounding effect of it truly lethal to the kingpin, turning it into a vile, vicious monster with one aim, to slaughter anything that moves. One of the Master's taskmasters survives, potentially as one of the strongest holdouts of the Invictor's warrior army and collectively sane post-ruler, with the entity being simply titled the Tyrant. The Tyrant is an embodiment of control and means of manipulation and deception. It is also a share of the Nihilanth's inbuilt egocentric complex that drove its ability to maintain order and security with its factional holdout, the Malevolent Tower. The Malevolent Tower once held great responsibility in maintaining the care and control of Vortal kind. which is an understatement to which the Vortigaunts collectively remember through the Vortissance, seeing it as a force to be reckoned with, a direct threat to their continued existence. The Malevolent Tower is a collection of floating islands somewhere within the infinite expanses of Zen. The Remnants slowly attempt to this day to rebuild what was once lost, founding on ancient technologies once lost when the Nihilanth was destroyed. Its operations remain a mystery, and the state, this interloper faction, remains under a complete cloud of total uncertainty with its interests in Earth. Yet all was not prescribed with hope for the tyrant and its followers. Another kingpin created by the fallen master had survived, an external holdout seen in yet another realm stuck within the border world of Zen. The despot, the embodiment of war, terror, and totalitarian authority. An image of the Nihilanth, created in all of its glory for one sole purpose. That purpose being conquest. There is complete uncertainty to the details describing what happened between the first initial contacts of Tyrant's Malevolent Tower and the Vendetta's Spire, the despot's holdout faction. All that can be understood so far is that their initial greeting was that of conflict. Whomever started the conflict is unclear. Was it deceit, led by the tyrant, or was it the aggressive layering of the despot? Understandably, the two kingpins were caught in the middle of an internal conflict when another force arrived to the realm. The immortal enemy, the arch-foe. A stray Combine fleet laid astray by an astronomic miscalculation immediately sought to destroy both of these interloping factions, with Despot's Vendetta Spire giving battle directly. Hundreds of Manta Ray bioships engaged with autonomous drones and synthetic organisms capable of spaceflight. But it was hopeless. The Combine's stray advance overwhelmed the initial defenders of the Vendetta Spire, eventually capturing the Despot while attempting to lay siege to the Malevolent Tower. The tyrant assumed desperate command of the remainder of the Vendetta Spire's defenders, rallying new reinforcements to counter the battle-worn expeditionary fleet, but this was also just as fruitless, as the initial Combine victories had produced a battle plan to incapacitate the Malevolent Tower. A horrific siege began, and it was in the final moments of the siege. The tyrant pleaded and bargained with its former captives, that being Vortalkind. With time seemingly running out, a plan was hatched to use the Vortigaunts to free Despot from torturous captivity and mutual commitment with a very arcane ritual. The plan to snatch the Despot using powerful members of a Vortigaunt tribe had rescued the Despot, bringing it to the plains of Earth for a time along with the tyrant. Despite their petty squabbles between the two kingpins, the Vendetta's Spire was all but destroyed. With newly installed vigor, the singular fleet of Combine Singularity vessels were lured into a trap committed by both the Kingpins, the brutal minds that once held the Master's realm like many others before it. Lightning arc spires flayed beam energy emissions at the oncoming onslaught. Manta rays swarmed into dogfights with Combine synthetic war machines, and bioengineered warriors boarded their vessels, and after taking catastrophic losses. What followed when the forces of the combined Meddler's Might united was a final defeat of the Combine's assault force. But the victory was hollow. The Malevolent Tower has been drained of its Phylixian crystal fields, and the damage sustained to the islands were extensive. It was at this moment, after a distress psyche was called, they found they were the only surviving remnants left. It wasn't a stray fleet that they had originally discovered. It was an extermination force sent to clear what remained of the Nihilanth's holdouts. With repairs being prioritized to the island's natural formations, the Malevolent Tower, the standing structure in the central point of the island, stands as the lone entity in a ruin of various alien installations. It was turned into a living graveyard. Eventually the Combine may return, and the time is running out for both the Kingpin's manipulative tendencies to use the pivotal grounds of Earth as a means of their escape. The Visari Lakes beyond their visions are a last resorted opportunity to reach, but with limited ability, they must secure a foothold on Earth, to which they have learned their immortal enemy has already entrenched. The Tyrant seeks to use Earth's natural resources to rebuild the Malevolent Tower, and in exchange provide fealty to the indigenous population that seeks to bribe its aggression and generosity. The Despot, equally aware of this plan, has other alternative measures in place. It is possible there is already a plot brewing between both of the meddlers, for there can be only one renewed master in the end. The Tyrant has manipulated Vortigaunt's into providing it a rare Felixian crystal, the Forge. These rare entities are what's able to produce technologies and weapons of war by manipulating the dimensional atomics of their region to a core function. In light of negotiations with the Emissary, an alliance has been brokered between the Malevolent Tower and Vortalkind. All the while, the Tyrant attempts to coerce a small Invictor army of humans that worship it. And its purposes with the Earth itself has truly began. Never trust a kingpin, for it is always a gamble.